Hey, hello YouTube trademark Kill here, and today we have another RWBY Talk video. This time you guys are seeing this on New Year's as I am recording this on New Year's Eve. They actually released an episode on both Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, so those animators have been hard at work working on RWBY. So just, if any of you who work on RWBY sees this, thank you from the bottom of my heart for working so hard and over the holidays on this show. Thank you so much. But today we have a interesting conversation about, because we got a 20-minute episode today, and this is on episode 8 actually. So it's actually getting pretty up there. It's a pretty nice, interesting episode, which has a lot of importance and some very shocking, possibly show-altering implications of what could happen in the future. So let's not parlay too much. Let's actually just get right into it, and let's talk about this episode revolves around Ruby and Blake. No one else but the Team Ranger and Blake. And we get a lot of information. We finally get Team Ruby learning about the four maidens, because Crow finally tells them, but we also get some more information which is very intriguing to me about the religions and how, you know, there's been many gods created, but apparently from what Ozpin says, when, as we know, Ozpin is kind of like a historian here and he's a very reliable source, there's two more gods that are true: the god of light and the god of dark. The god of light creating life, and the god of darkness creating death, famine, and a drought, fire, and so on. This was very interesting to me because when the gods come together, they create humanity. They stop feuding, create their masterpiece, as it's said in the video, in the episode, and they create their masterpiece, which is humanity. And the humanity was giving four unique traits: knowledge, creation, destruction, and choice. And humanity can choose, and you can use knowledge to and figure out their own path, and they can learn from things around them, and they can learn, and basically just become humanity that we know of in the show and in the actual real life. But those four things are a very interesting thing because they're actually also physical. They're relics that are hidden either underneath or somewhere in each of the four main academies. Now, I can actually they didn't tell us straightforward that what each of them are or where each of them are, but we can kind of guess, as well as something else that I'm going to get into right after this. But the four: knowledge would be hidden at Veil, choice would be hidden at, knowledge would be hidden at Beacon or Veil, Beacon/Veil. Choice would be hidden at Vacuo or Shade, which would be the Academy. Destruction would be hidden at Atlas, and creation would be hidden at Haven, which is in Mistral. But that also kind of brings up an interesting conversation about what happens towards the end of the volume, because there's four elements of the or what I'm calling the elements of humanity, which could also be, in the end, if we think about the long game, could be mean that each of our four main characters in Team RWBY are going to be given one of these elements, or one of these ruins, or whatever it is in its physical form, whether it's a relic or just an element or something. And one of our main each of our main characters could maintain this and be forced to split up and travel the world. And if that happens, because that's kind of my prediction as of right now, Ruby would get knowledge, Yang would get creation, Blake would get destruction, and Weiss would get choice. Now, the reason why I think this is that, you know, Ruby is kind of the more illogical or least knowledgeable, it seems, out of all the four main girls. She's more spry and out there. And that means that she would potentially grow to be a wise woman, and would possibly eventually learn to chase knowledge about about life, and go on and carry the element of humanity that is knowledge. Now, creation being Yang, other than her having a artificial arm, she is much more the fun lover. She is the more adrenaline junkie, and so I kind of see her going forward and taking the element of creation as her kind of move forward to uncover everything. Now, Blake being destruction, I think that's a little bit easier than how to describe Yang, because I think Yang being creation is a lot more a lot harder to discuss. But she's basically creation and Yang are the only ones that are left from this that I couldn't really pinpoint. But destruction going to Blake would make sense because of her kind of path of destruction that she was forced to lead when she was a part of the White Fang and working with Adam. She knows what that feels like. She knows what it is to destroy things that others hold dear, in a sense. So she would take that as her burden. And then that would only leave Choice being Weiss's pick, because Weiss, was always under her father's thumb, and now that we see that she's back home, she is even more under her father's thumb than ever before. So her embracing to kind of be the image of Choice and having that be her relic to take into the future would kind of make sense, and that would make sense for her story. Is that she now knows the importance of making her own choices and not living under the forceful thumb of someone else making the choices for her. So that kind of makes sense if that in the end game, each of our 4 girls were to take one of these relics or whatever and move out, that would be the what I feel each character would take. Hey guys, this is just a quick edit in to the video, no video for you guys, but I just thought about this alternative kind of format for the 4 creation or 4 elements of humanity and our 4 girls. That might make a little bit more sense. I'm still kind of leaning towards the first one, but I also thought about addressing this one, which is that Ruby's creation, because she, sprouts rose petals. Weiss is knowledge because she chases knowledge, and that's kind of like she wants to be more knowledgeable about the world so she can become a better human than her father. Blake could get choice because she also has made wrong choices, so she knows the importance of making proper choices and not thinking with your heart but thinking with your head into when you make choices. And Yang could be destruction because of the amount of sheer power that she's going to have, especially with her robot arm, the power she could possess with that. Just kind of a little side thing that I thought could be the alternative kind of mix and match with our characters. So I just thought you guys would like to hear this. Now back to the regularly scheduled programming. Now, just to go back a little bit on the gods, I have a feeling that the Brother of Light, the God of Light, was in some sense going to be connected to Ozpin, as just the same way that the Brother of Darkness is going to be connected to Salem. Maybe not in a direct relation, but maybe in a kind of cathedral-esque kind of priesthood way. I believe that there's going to be some connection, whether it's thousands of years of ancestry that in the story was just passed down between the 2 families, or maybe the Salem and Ozpin are from the same family, and that only told the story of the God of Light, the older brother, and then Salem found out about the God of the God of Darkness, the God of Chaos, and was like, well, why don't we tell stories about him? She got shunned for finding out about him, and now is started, or not, maybe not her, but her ancestry started a priesthood or worshipping of the God of Darkness. But I have a feeling that the 2 gods are very closely related to our kind of idyllic Ozpin and our infamous evil that is Salem. Now, the only last thing I have to talk about, which is, at least when it comes to Team Ranger, is Crow. It is such a very bad situation with Crow, because I don't know if it's poison, I don't know if it's acidic, but he's looking in rough shape, and honestly, a lot of the correlation says that he is going to die. If we get out of the way, that's, Vic Mignogna, how long can they afford to pay Vic, even though the show is massive? I've seen a few comments yeah, Vic's going to die this season because they can't afford to pay him, or continue to pay him for every season that he's in, so he's gonna go away now, and that's gonna be the end of Vic because Rooster Teeth can't afford to pay him. Even though that's kind of just underestimating the kind of size and the revenue that is the potential and actual revenue of Rooster Teeth that they can probably, if they can, they got the guy who plays Beerus. They got Vic Mignogna. They have a bunch of big name voice actors and actresses. Why is it going to be Vic who is the one they can't afford to pay all of a sudden? Just forget about that. That's not important. But let's get down to the actual situation in like the series right now, where it's Crow is in dire straits. He's coughing up purple blood, so that could be the blood that just affected and mixed with the acid, possibly, or the poison, depending on what route you want to go. But there's 2 ways I see him surviving this. Potentially 3, but it's somewhat unlikely. The first situation is that Raven sees him. He hasn't used his one, how she always saves everyone one time. He hasn't used that yet. She comes down, she saves him. That's her one and flies off, right? The second thing that could happen is that the semblance that Jean has is a healing semblance. It's not this power of the voice, which is a buff or debuff for anyone. It's the power to heal, and that he finds a way to heal him. However, if we look back at the opening cinematic for the volume, there's a scene in the woods that looks awfully a lot like the woods that we're in right now, where it is Jean, Ren, and Nora fighting with no sight of RWBY. That could be because RWBY's going to pick up her Uncle Crow and haul ass to a town. Kind of unlikely because he's a big man, maybe not like a wide man, but he's very tall and would be very awkward for a small girl like RWBY to carry. But it's possible. It'd be very intense for Jean to have his semblance pop out. But I think if there's going to be a right time, this would be the right time. Although I'd like it to be when he's trying to save someone like RWBY. Or that's kind of why I would think Crow may die or may be very incapacitated. Is to the point where I think Jean's going to be like, as he said before, he's sick of losing everything. I think that's going to be a situation that comes up now. Is that he may heal Crow, but this may be also another trigger that he's going to see, like RWBY's going to get attacked again, and he's going to see RWBY, pretty knocked out and down, and then he's like, I can't lose another person. I can't watch another person go. And then that's when he activates his semblance. Don't think they'll go that super cliche with it, but they've built up Jean's semblance or his reveal enough where I do think that whether it's revealed now that it's a healing factor, or whether it's revealed in the future it's going to be in a big moment, and this or another teammate being injured is a big enough moment for them to qualify him to just pop his semblance. So that's going to be very interesting to see. I don't think Raven's going to be involved, although it would be cool to also introduce that factor. But the bird we saw in the branch is a crow, from what I've been able to research. So people are saying it was Raven that was flying by. Don't think so. It looked like a crow. The tail on crows is shaped more like a fan. That was a very fan-shaped tail on that crow, so it's probably a crow. Wouldn't have been Raven, or a raven in that case. So in terms of where I'd have to put my money, I think Crow's gonna die. I don't think he was been dealing with the illness overnight, and for a first, if you're gonna make Jean be a healer, for his first heal to have been a heal, for something that dramatic, where it's been sizzling overnight as the team ranger slept, Crow was sitting there dealing with this injury overnight, so the damage should be insurmountable, especially if we're talking about a first-time healer like Jean. So unless that's the goal, to make him uber powerful, I don't think it's going to happen where Crow's going to survive this, unfortunately. But I do not think we're going to get this in episode 9. I think there's going to be a pretty nice drawn-out moment, and maybe RWBY does try to pick Crow up and take off to a town, but I don't think she's going to be very successful, which might cause a split in Team Ranger, and that would cause a lot of stuff to go very, very, very interesting in Volume 5. And now we have just the last thing to talk about, which is Blake. And oh my god, was this heartbreaking. She finally has a heart-to-heart with her father. And we learned that she was not very supportive of them abandoning the White Fang. And that she called them out. She called her mother and father cowards, and that she took off with Adam, which then found out that what her parents were saying about the White Fang was correct when they started acting a fool and destroying shit instead of being peaceful about their protests. And that was just a amazing heart-to-heart, nice backstory. We're almost going to get a little bit more character development when her father was going to ask Blake why she left her friends, and that's when Sun falls through the door, because of course he would, and we interrupt that moment. But we also get what's more important is that we actually have the setup to go into going into chapter 8, or from chapter 8 to chapter 9 of volume 4, which is the fight with Adam in the desert of what is Menagerie that we see in the opening cinematic, which is going to be huge, because at the end of their scene, they see the giant, they see the White Fang spy, and they run after the spy, trying to figure out why they're here, because White Fang don't wear the masks in Menagerie. So that's going to be pretty interesting to actually get set up. We don't have a lot of information on that, but we do know it's going to go down. I keep calling that at the end of, like, every time there's something big revealed, I say, okay, next episode's going to be World Remnant, or next episode's going to cut to the other girls, and I don't know if I want to keep calling it anymore, because they did a lot in Volume 3, where big, huge moment, they time it, oh, this is a big, huge moment, shit's going down, and then boom, we go to a World Remnant next week, build a suspense, and we qualify it in 2 weeks after, or a week after the World Remnant. They haven't done that very much at all, so I don't know if I want to call it. But I think we do have chapter 9. I do think we might set up with maybe Blake, and because since we're not all the way set up with Blake yet, because we just know that she's running after a spy. So it could be Blake, and it could be some more Yang, because we have had very little Yang. Let's be honest here. Yang needs a lot of time to set herself up to put her in a position to move forward out of Volume 4. We don't have a lot of time we haven't had a lot of time to set up Yang, so we need to start that as soon as possible. And I think, hopefully, we're going to get that chance in Chapter 9, when we have Blake and Yang being set up to finally set them up for a kind of end of chapter climax, as it would be. So I'm hoping that, and then we get the World of Remnant the week after that. So we'll see what happens. But as always, like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, Trimmer Kills out. Peace.